Good afternoon. I'm on the very busy Crumlin Road, and this is Brookfield Mill, one of the 32 linen mills that were placed in Belfast, that grew up in Belfast all those years ago in around 1850. And we can see references to what went on here with the street name there, Flex Trust. I think there's a Flex Street close by here as well. It's sad to see the old mill in such a deplorable state, but that's what happens to these old mills. The linen industry basically collapsed from 1965 onwards, but in the 1850s it was boomtown in Belfast. So much so that people came from all arts and parts, rural people flooded into the city, and the population of Belfast just mushroomed. In 1803 there was only 70,000 people resident in Belfast. By 1851 there was 100,000, and by 1871 there was 174,000, and in 1912, when the linen industry was probably at its peak, there were 400,000. And these mills give work to thousands. One of the biggest linen mills was out, I think it was on York Road, York Street, and it had 4,000 workers in it, mostly women. The supervisors and managers were all men, and they did employ men to do the rougher type of work. And the major linen mills in Belfast are found on the Shankill and Falls Road. There were some on the Crumlin, but most of them were on the Shankill and the Falls. To a lesser extent, there were a few major linen mills in the countryside, and obviously Zan Mills, Herdman Mills was one of the major ones, but they were the exception to the rule. Most of the major linen mills were concentrated in Belfast. We had Brookfield Mill, Edenderry Mill, Ewart's Mill, Lindsay Thompson, Rosebank, Brookfield Factory, York Road, and Conway Mill. And they were all in a smallish area. The average working day was 10 hours. It was quite normal to do 50 hours a week, with 1 hour or so break. Children were employed in the mill as well, from 8 years old onwards. So this was absolutely, you know, the noise and the fumes from the oil, the looms, the fine dust. I mean, it played havoc with people's health, but it provided work, and people came. So there was heat, and there was steam, and there was oil fumes, and there was fine dust, and it was very, very noisy. In the early days, typical wage packets for 50 and 60 hour weeks. Spinners 7 and 6 a week. That's about 50p. Roughers and sorters 17 and 6. Now they were men. And as I say, children were working in the mill, and there was no health and safety or anything like that. And the children were known as part-timers because they went part-time to school and went part-time in the mill. And this was a typical mill setup here. We had the rough work taking place on the ground floor here. That was splitting the fibres into finer filaments, and then on the first floor we had fibre processing into yarn, and then on the second floor spinning coarse yarn, and then on the third floor we had reeling and winding machines, and they put the yarn into lengths of 300 yards, and that was known as a cut, and 12 cuts made a hank. My mother-in-law worked in Brookfield Factory, and she was insistent that it wasn't Brookfield Mill, because Brookfield Factory got a better name. And there's the old mill clock, and there's the date up on the top, 1851. And the girls that worked in here were known as millies, and there were hundreds of them. And if only these walls could speak. Then, looking down the Crumlin Road, we've got this building here. This is Edenderry Mill, and a massive big chimney on it. And I'm not allowed to go in and film in around it because it's actually apartments. So it actually is being put to some good use. It's been refurbished, and there's a lot of small businesses in there too. But it dates from the 1850s as well, or maybe 1860. Edenderry Mill. Stacks and stacks of mills in this area, most of them are gone.